Erin Peliquin from MCP Actions. Today I'm going to show you how to install and use our Infusion presets for Lightroom. Infusion works in versions of Lightroom beginning with Lightroom 4. Once you've downloaded them, they will appear somewhere on your computer. In my case, my presets are here in my Downloads folder. Depending on the configuration of your computer, they might be somewhere else. After downloading, you want to unzip the zipped file if it's not already. You can do this usually by double-clicking. And sometimes right-clicking on the folder will give you an option to unzip or uncompress as well. So once I have unzipped that file, you'll see that now in my downloads I've got two separate files. One is the zipped version, one is the unzipped version. And within the unzipped version, I've got my MCP Infusion Develop presets as well as my local brushes. Each one of these needs to be installed differently, so this is a two-part installation process. Okay, so the next step in this installation process is to go to Lightroom and to look for Preferences. Now, if you're on a Mac, you'll find Preferences under your Lightroom menu. If you're on a PC, you'll find it under your Edit menu. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to Lightroom and Preferences. I will check my Presets tab, click on it to activate it. Now when you open Preferences, we're going to click eventually this Show Lightroom Presets folder, but first I want to talk about this location checkbox. If you have installed presets before, you want to make sure that this location, whether it's checked or not checked, is the same setting as you used when installing your previous presets. If you haven't installed presets before, I recommend that you leave this box off. If you install presets and you realize that you've lost other presets that you previously had, that means that you used the wrong setting here. So reinstall the presets using the other setting, whether that setting is on or off in this box. And now you'll click on the Show Lightroom Presets folder. Once this folder has opened, I'm going to navigate within this Lightroom folder first to my Develop Presets folder. Now, if you've never installed presets before, you'll only have this User Presets collection. I'm going to open my other Finder window that contains my new presets. I am going to select my MCP Infusion folder, and I am right-clicking on it to copy. You could also press Command or Control C to copy this file. Once it's copied, I'm going to click in the Develop Presets folder, going to right-click to select Paste Item. You can also, to paste, type Command or Control V like victory. Next, I am going to navigate from this Develop Presets folder to my Local Adjustment presets. And again, if you have never installed local adjustment presets, you won't have as many in this folder as I do. Returning to my product download, I am going to open the Infusion local brushes. I am not going to copy this entire folder. I am only going to copy the actual presets inside it. So to select all of them, I can type Command or Control A, and then again, I'll right-click to select Copy. And then returning to Local Adjustment Presets, I'm going to right-click to paste the items. And you'll see now that my 5 MCP Infusion presets have been copied into this location. So here they are. And now I want to restart Lightroom. Okay, so I have restarted Lightroom now, and I'm going to the Develop module to show you where these new presets are. Once in the Develop module, you want to look over here in your Presets panel on the left, and you should see a folder now for MCP Infusion. So once you've located this new MCP Infusion folder, you can simply click on this arrow to expand it and see all of the presets inside. I'll start by giving you a brief tour of what's included in the set, and then I will use the presets to edit several photos. So first we've got the exposure presets where you can fix under or overexposure of a photo. And next you've got your white balance presets. After that you've got your color bases. So we've got 4 one-click color bases in varying strengths. We've also got the same bases with highlight protection added on. Note that each section of presets, whether it's overexposure or your color bases or anything else, has its own reset built in. And these built-in resets will only reset the settings in that section. After your color bases, you've got your color overlays that you can use to add specific tones or looks to your image. And all of these are in 3 levels also. So level 1 is the lightest setting and level 3 is the strongest. Section C gives us our black and white presets, where we've got our one-click black and white bases, both with and without highlight protection, 25% being the weakest and 100 being the strongest. And then we've got additional overlays that you can use either on black and white photos or on your color photos. Section D is our infusion color tweaks, where you can adjust the strength or the tone of various colors. You can remove magentas or greens from the shadows. You can warm, cool, pop, or calm either reds, greens, or blues. Next we have 4 vignettes for you to choose from. And then finally we have section F, our finishing enhancers, where you can apply global adjustments to highlights and whites, to shadows, to contrast, to detail and clarity, and then finally to sharpening. Now, when you're using the infusion presets, you need to keep in mind the way that they work together or stack together. In general, you can use 1 preset from each section. So with exposure, you can use any one of these 6 presets. You can click as many of them as you want. For instance, looking at this photo from Lori Schloss, I could fix underexposure by the lightest amount or by the strongest amount. However, the only preset that will be applied to the photo is the last one that I applied. The same technique works in the white balance section. I can experiment with the various settings by clicking on them, but the only one to be applied to the photo is the last one that I've clicked on. Color infusion works the same way. I can apply any one of these bases to my image, and so are the color overlays. So if I were to click on Sleepover 2 and Overnight Camp 2, the only preset would be Overnight Camp. It overwrites Sleepover when I apply it. Black and whites work exactly the same way as the colors. Before applying a black and white preset, however, there's an extra step. You need to use this reset to use black and white preset to make sure that your colors are clean before applying your bases. So you can apply any one of your bases and any one of your additional overlays. You could also apply the color overlays to a black and white if you wanted to. Now within the infusion color tweak section, you have a few more options. You can apply one of the first 2 that adjust the shadows, and then from the colors, whether it's reds, greens, or blues, you can apply one of each of those. So you could apply, for instance, cool the reds, warm the greens, and pop the blues if you wanted to. You can choose 1 vignette from section E, and from section F, you can use 1 of each type of preset. So 1 highlight helper, 1 darken whites, 1 lighten up, 1 different directions, 1 define, and 1 high def sharpening if you did need 1 from each of those categories. Now, the order that you apply the presets in is flexible for the most part. So from sections A, B, C, and D, the color tweaks, you can apply your adjustments in any order that you want to. I generally work from top to bottom because I get the best results that way, but if you want to jump around within these sections, you can. However, you do need to use section E and F, the vignettes and the finishing enhancers, last. Okay, so that's the tour of the infusion presets. Let's go ahead and edit this image from Lori Schloss. going to hit reset to take this photo back to its straight out of camera state. Looking at the presets, I'm going to start by correcting the underexposure. I'm going to go ahead and use level 3 for this one because it is pretty dark. And next, for my color base, I do want a color image. I am going to run the color base with highlight protection at 75%. And I chose the highlight protection because of her white clothes. If I didn't use the preset with the highlight collection, those clothes might start to be overexposed. Now the look that I'm going to apply for this image is Overnight Camp 1. You can see that to this particular photo, it adds a nice kind of rose or burgundy tint to the photo. And next I am going to go down to our finishing enhancers. And I am going to add a little bit of clarity using Define number 1. I am going to apply the high definition sharpening at number 1 also. And then finally I'm going to lighten up the shadows just a little bit using number 1 there to lighten the shadows slightly. So that's my final edit, and it's only taken me just a few clicks to go from my beginning state to my ending state. So there's my before and there's my after. Next, I'm going to take this photo from Lindsay Gutierrez and apply a soft edit to this photo. So I'm going to scroll up to the top of my Infusion Presets folder. I'm going to start with my one-click color base at 25%. You can see that that opens the image up nicely. For the look that I'm going to apply to this image, I'm going to click on Lemonade Slush number 3. Now notice if I wasn't sure about which preset to apply, I could apply Lemonade Slush 1, thinking I want to go a little bit slower, so I try 2, and then finally I try 3. And so again, Lemonade Slush 3 is the only preset that has been applied to this photo from the color overlays section. Now I'm going down to my color tweaks section, and I am going to calm the reds. You can see when I do that the redness in her skin is decreased just a little bit, as well as some of the warmth from the background. And finally, I'm going to finish this edit with high definition sharpening number 2. So in this edit using Infusion, I started out here and I was quickly able to get to this edit. Now for the final edit of this video, we are going to use this beautiful silhouette by Dania Moore. Now there's several things we can do to this. We can really play up the silhouette effect, or we can brighten it to get more of a traditionally lit photo. So we're going to go both ways using MCP's Infusion. Now first I want to play with the silhouette and really emphasize what we've got here. So I'm going to use Fix Overexposure number 3 to darken the darks even more. And next I am going to warm up the white balance just a little bit by using our cloudy white balance. And you can see that that kind of emphasizes the sunset feeling. It really plays up the warms in the image. And now to add a color look, I am going to do Enchanting number 3. And you can see that that really emphasizes the blues as well as the warmth of the sun coming from behind the clouds. And now to further play up the silhouette feeling, I am going to apply some contrast using Different Directions number 3 to this photo. That makes the darks in the image darker and the brights brighter. And then I'm going to finish with High Definition Sharpening number 3 as well. Using high def is going to give me a great clarity around the edges of the silhouette. Now I can emphasize the shadows and the colors even more using the brushes, the local adjustment brushes that came with MCP Infusion. I'm going to start by clicking on this adjustment brush to select it. And from my drop-down menu, I'm going to look for my 5 MCP Infusion choices. You can see that with this collection of presets, you have a selective lightening preset called Dodgeball. You have Shade, which is selective darkening. magic markers, which allows you to apply a color pop in certain parts of your image, but not all of them. Spark, which allows you to find details or add clarity to specific areas of your photo. And then finally, X-Acto Sharp, which is a selective sharpening. So I am going to start with shade here. I want to make sure that my foreground as well as the kids are completely black. To do that, I am going to just brush over the areas of my image. I'm going to increase the feathering just a bit. And I'm also going to type the letter O to turn on my paint overlay to show me where I've painted. Now I'm getting those holes in my painting because I've got Auto Mask selected. Auto Mask does a great job of reading the edges. You can see that I've got no paint overspill up there, but it does sometimes leave pits like that, and I'll go back and clean those up later. And now that I've painted the ground, I'm going to go back with my brush. Going to use my square bracket keys to adjust the size of the brush. They're right above the Enter key on my keyboard. The one that faces to the left makes the brush bigger, and the one that faces to the right makes it smaller. So I'm just painting over the silhouettes to darken them up even further. And you can see that Auto Mask is doing a pretty good job here of reading the edges. I don't have a whole lot of overspill in the image. Do have this little bit right on top of his head, so holding down my Alt or Option button turns my brush into an eraser, and I can just remove that. Now to clean up these spots in the foreground, I can turn off Auto Mask, make my brush a little bigger, and then paint right over them with complete coverage. Okay, now I want to add a different effect to the cloud up here. Going to hit my new brush, and this time I am going to select Infusion Spark. Going to turn Auto Mask back on, and then just brush over the clouds here, just to add a little bit of detail to them. Now I did have some overspill on the boy's head, so I'll go back and clean that up. Again, holding down the minus sign on my keyboard to change that brush into an eraser. And I can turn the red overlay off by typing O again. And now that I see that, I can toggle my adjustment brush off and on to see the effect of this edit. And you can see I've also got two pins right here. So I can go back and edit my silhouette darkening just by clicking on that button to put the black dot in the center of it. Or I can go back and adjust the detail finder by clicking on it to put the black dot in the center of it. I am going to open up the shadows on those clouds just a little bit. So with my cloud edit activated, I am going to increase the exposure on the clouds just a touch. And so that gives me more detail up there. Now that I'm finished with the brush, I'm going to turn it off by clicking on it, and then show you that very quickly at this point I can change the look of the photo just with one more preset. So if I decide that maybe enchanting isn't the look that I wanted for the preset, then I can click on Peach Parfait number 3 and go to that look. So again, it's a completely different look, but just as sweet on the photo, and very easy change to make, just one click. Now I'm going to reset the work on this photo to take us back to our straight out of camera and show you how you can use Infusion's preset to brighten this and make a more traditionally lit photo. So I'm going to start by fixing underexposure number 3. That gives us a good start for the brightening. And next I am going to warm it up by using the shade white balance. You can see that that adds a nice tone to the photo, and it will warm up the skin as well. Next, I'm going to use my color base with highlight protection at 100%. And I think for this edit, I'm going to use Jenna's Candy Shop. I like that. It adds a nice pink, soft feel to the photo. And now I'm going to skip down to section F, the final section, and I'm going to further brighten the image, first by lightening the shadows, and then adding a little bit of extra contrast using different directions. And then finally, I can do some brush work to lighten the photo even more. So to do that, I'm going to turn on this adjustment brush again. And this time I'm going to select Dodgeball. I'll make my brush just a little bit smaller and paint over the kids to brighten them up. And this is pretty bright, so I'll go back and adjust it as soon as I finish painting. So another way to adjust your intensity of your brushes is that you can collapse these settings right here. So this view is the expanded view of your brush settings, and you can adjust each individual slider, or just by clicking on this button you get the collapsed view, and you can simply adjust all sliders together. So I like that, and then I'm going to add the same adjustment to him just to bring him out of the shadows a little bit more. And then I'll add a new brush. This time I'm going to select Magic Markers, going to paint over the balloon, going to paint over her outfit. And then with one more brush, I will paint some detail onto them. So using our selective detail finder, I will brush over each child. Now, this brush does sometimes darken parts of your image when you use it. So I am going to expand this section so that I can see all the details. And then I'll lighten the shadows just a touch. And so for this image, we've now gone from before to there. So that's a fabulous change you can make using the MCP InFusion presets. Thanks so much for watching. Visit our website, mcpactions.com, if you have more questions about the presets.